Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Mike Catron, and joining me, as always, is Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
Not much, Mike. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. We are moving right along in our team previews for the upcoming NBA season, and man, the NBA season is sneaking up on us, isn't it?
Dude, it's almost here. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's about 4 weeks. I think you were saying 4 weeks away. The first game is Cleveland-Boston. I don't know how much more you can ask for.
Well, and then you got Golden State and Houston on the same night. So that could be the two finals matchups right there.
See, this is where Pop, this is why he is a Jedi Master.
I said could be. I didn't say it would be.
I mean, this is why Pop's the Jedi Master, right? If he was in any of these games, he would not run one single play he would run in the playoffs. But these teams, I think, are going to go at each other.
Well, and I think Chris Paul wanted to go to Houston to try to knock off Golden State, so I think they're definitely going to have a chip on their shoulder to beat Golden State on opening night.
Yeah, and I respect that. Chris Paul, one of the dirtiest players in the league, easily, and really gets away with almost anything against Steph Curry. So that actually really could be a good matchup. Just mug Steph Curry like every single play.
Slagging off Chris Paul in the first 2 minutes of the episode. This is what you came for.
I'm sorry, but if you tried any of that crap out in a gym, in a playground, in the streets, where you run up the court and then stop in front of somebody and that guy runs into you and you try to call a foul, you're liable to get knocked the hell out. Chris Paul is a dirty player. Nobody in the league does that crap.
Just Chris Paul, you just said he did, so someone does.
For shitty Chris Paul. Like, just keep playing, you turd. But that guy's, I mean, like, he's got the competitive, I respect his competitive lunacy in the fact that he will do anything, including be a scumbag, to win a game. So, good on him, and I do look forward to him in Houston. Speaking of Houston is on this episode tonight, so we're gonna talk about old Chris Paul. I already unleashed my rant on Chris Paul too early, but let's start with Denver, because Denver is a super interesting team this year.
You say so.
I think they are. I think they're interesting in the sense that in the NBA, they're definitely going to be, I think, an interesting team to watch. I think they'll be a fun team to watch. What is the most interesting thing going into the upcoming season for the Denver Nuggets?
Well, this is a two-pronged approach, if you ask me. You got the coming out party of Jamal Murray, or you got, is Jokic a first-round pick?
Really? Those are your most interesting. I agree with you on the Jokic. Who is he? What is he? Is he really? Is the hype going to? The performance going to meet the hype? Right.
Yeah.
But I think, other than Jokic, I'm more interested in who Paul Millsap is on a better team.
I think Paul Millsap's Paul Millsap on any team.
I like Paul Millsap. I've always loved Paul Millsap. He's a really kind of a nine cat stud, and he kind of fell off there in Atlanta this year. And I wonder. I'm interested to see if last year was an aberration because Paul Millsap was on a pretty bad team, and he's going to be a much better fit in Denver instead of with Dwight Howard. But the Nuggets brought in Paul Millsap. They also made a trade for Trey Lyles, if you care about that. They lost Danilo Gallinari. And, man, I know you were upset when they waived Mike Miller.
My favorite player in the league, man.
Yep,
Don't hate.
One of your favorite players. For some reason, they signed Roy Hibbert, but no one knew why, because he shouldn't be in the league.
Wait, they signed Roy Hibbert?
Yeah, according to this, whatever the hell I'm reading here is one of the free agents, unrestricted free agent is.
I'm pretty sure you're slightly mistaken, my friend.
Well, you know what? I might be wrong.
They do not have Roy Hibbert.
Was Roy Hibbert on this team last year?
I believe his contract got traded there, and then he got waived or whatever.
I'm reading this incorrectly. Roy Hibbert, not a basketball
Who
player.
last played for the Denver Nuggets? He does not play for them currently.
So yeah, he was. See, I didn't even know he was
Indefinitely.
on the Denver Nuggets. That's how bad Roy Hibbert has gotten. Is that
I don't know that he actually played.
I'm gonna go. I'm going
He
into
played
the
6
deep dive.
games last year.
He did.
1.8 whole minutes.
Yeah. Though in one of the games he had a 42% usage rate for those 1.6 minutes he played. So I don't know.
So he got the ball 1 out of 2 possessions. He was in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure you should be able to put usage rate next to a guy who played 2 minutes, but whatever. Let's never talk about Roy Hibbert again. And then just recently, re-signed the Woj bomb everybody's been waiting for. Mason Plumlee re-signed to the Denver Nuggets.
And let's talk about this for just 1 second. That is a shame.
Do we have to?
That is a shame for me. Just because I think Plumlee is a decent fantasy player if he gets minutes, and he is not going to get crap for minutes on this team.
I did like Mason Plumlee in Portland. Plumlee has that game, that assist game that Joakim Noah used to have, but Joakim Noah did a little bit more defensive things. But when you get a center who's breaking the 5 assist mark, that's something special in fantasy, and he is just not going to do that this year. There's no chance that Mason Plumlee plays enough minutes for that.
Yes, he is probably just going to be Jokic's backup center, and that's going to be not a lot of minutes at all.
Yeah, and so let's just get right to the heart of the matter. Nikola Jokic. A lot of people are calling him a top 10 player, easily a first-round player. His per 36 minutes do pan out to be absurdly outstanding. I think we talked about Joel Embiid a long time ago, and I think his pan out to be even more absurd somehow. But Jokic is much more likely to be healthy and to play a ton of games and to play more than 30 minutes a game this year.
Is he?
This is where I'm getting at. Where are you standing on the Jokic line?
I am worried about the fouls getting him more than 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes is kind of safe, but he has a tendency to get in some serious foul trouble, and sometimes real early in the game that could knock the minutes down to right around 30. Like, I hear some people saying, like, oh, he's going to get like 35 minutes a night. Like, I just don't see that happening. He fouls too much for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, for some reason, thinking Tom Thibodeau is coaching this team and think that Jokic is going to approach 36 minutes a game. But even in what is probably more likely, I think, I can see it going to 31, 32, which is not terribly off from 28 of last year, but significant enough.
Well, and I think he gets that on the average night, and then there are nights where he only can get 12 minutes because he keeps fouling, and that keeps the average down around 30.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like some of these nights, you are going to see a guy who ends up playing 22, 23 minutes simply because of the fouls. But if you kind of look, some those games are few and far between, and on average, I think it's safe to say it will be over 30 minutes. I'm on that side of the line when it comes to Jokic, and with 30 minutes a game, he was kind of what we were just talking about, an assist stud at the center. Down the second half of the season was around 6 assists, close to 12 rebounds, and was throwing in the occasional 3. So, a little over half a 3 a game on the whole season last year. And in some of those bigger games where he played bigger minutes, could score 20 points. That is a fantasy stud. And I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. I think Jokic should be taken in the top 10.
I could not disagree with you more.
Well, let me have it.
I will let you have it. I will easily let you have it. I would argue, and I'll tell you right now, in my rankings, Nikola Jokic is 15th.
Woo! Wow, that is brutal.
So I've got the.
You're gonna have some angry. Please send your angry tweets to Watsy4444.
And here's why. Okay, I don't know how many threes this guy actually can get. He's not a good percentage shooter from distance. And I mean, he made 0.6 last year, which isn't nothing, but it's not really a huge help when you got lots of guys out there making 3 a game, 2.5 a game. And you talk about that all the time about how there's more and more 3-pointers every year. So a half is not a huge amount.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But are you drafting Nikola Jokic because he's a 3-point shooter? Nope.
No, but at the same time, I mean, I get it. The percentages are great. He shoots some a little bit of threes. I mean, he's still a really good player. I guess my point being is I want points. I always want points because I know points are not readily available as the draft goes on. And so I'm looking more at guys like, I mean, I'd even take Jimmy Butler over him. I got Jimmy Butler at 14 and I got him at 15.
Don't throw my love for Jimmy Butler at me when I'm standing on the Jokic Island. That is a low blow.
If it's an 8-category league, I've got the top 8, which I think is pretty consensus on who the top 8 is. I've got John Wall, I've got LeBron, I've got DeMarcus Cousins, I've got Chris Paul, I got Damian Lillard, and I got Jimmy Butler all over him. So that puts him 15th.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm not gonna disagree fully. I think you could definitely make a case for LeBron James. I think you could definitely make a case for Chris Paul. I can even think you can make a case for DeMarcus Cousins because I have a soft spot for DeMarcus Cousins. But Nikola Jokic is a 9-cat, just kind of an amazing tool to build a team around if you can get him in that late first round.
In 9-cat, yes, I have him over LeBron. I have him closer to my top 10 in 9-cat. In 8-cat, though, he's 15th for me.
I don't really take him down too many pegs in 8-cat either. His turnovers aren't incredibly low. They're low enough, right? But for a center, they're not Anthony Davis low, but his percentages are incredibly good. He's going to probably play incredibly well with Paul Millsap sitting there, and we can get into Paul Millsap here in a little bit, but those two guys can pass really well, and I think that's going to help both of their production. He's only 22. He has room for improvement. You've seen him improve. He is known to get triple doubles from the center position, which is pretty rare. He's a steal block guy. I'm just not sure what he does that doesn't warrant a late first round pick.
That's if it was a steal and a block, I would be more into it. But I don't know that it's much more than that 0.8 it was last year. You got to think that they're going to let Millsap do a little bit more of the rim protecting. I don't think Jokic is a great defender in real life. I just really don't.
This is your best argument. If you're looking at his steal block, they are around 1. They are not 1.5, which is significant in both of those categories. A half a game more is incredibly significant in those low count stats of steals and blocks. When you look at him and you look at LeBron's percentages for free throw are worse, right? His turnovers are worse, right? But he's going to score way more. LeBron's going to score way more. He's not going to give you as many rebounds, but who cares? He's going to give you more. LeBron's going to give you more threes. So if you want to make an argument for LeBron over Jokic, I think that's where you lies.
Well, what is his elite category too? I mean,
they're very similar players, and so if you're going to say LeBron's a top 10 player, I think you can make an argument that Jokic is a top 10 player.
I guess the way I'm looking at it is his really only elite category is rebounds. He's going to get like 10 rebounds a game,
which is rare. I think push that up a little bit, but anyone who gets double-digit rebounds is pretty rare.
It's getting more and more rare. I will give you that. Yes. But I mean, like, okay, the 5 assists are good for a center, but they're not elite when you're talking about. I mean, we got a guy like John Wall over him. He's going to get 10 assists a game. That's double the amount.
6 assists a game is elite for a center, and you can go theoretically Jokic Wall back to back and not worry about your assists at all for the rest of your draft.
Yeah, but then you're making him a second-round pick. But you're just telling me he's got to be a first-round pick.
I think you can take him in the first round. If you're taking him, if you're in a 10-team league, Jokic wall Jokic whatever 10-11.
I think you're just drinking the Kool-Aid. You're assuming that he's gonna take this big step forward, and I don't know that he is.
Well, let's put we gotta actually get a board. We'll put Jokic on the board. Give me an over under of 11.
I mean, I'll take that. I mean, like I said, I have him at 15. I just
taking the over. So let's look at the rest of this team. I think there's this not a super strong disagreement, but a disagreement on Jokic. But Paul Millsap, I think, like I said, one of the more interesting pieces on this team. He's coming off what Paul Millsap fans would call a disappointing season, and I would consider myself a Paul Millsap fan, a guy who has finished in the top 20 consistent.
But what was really super disappointing about it, other than the steal and the block numbers being down,
significantly down.
And I'll give you that. Well, the blocks really weren't, though. I mean, he had an amazing block season the year before, but the blocks were within the totals of every other year that he's had.
That's fair.
So the blocks really weren't. The steals were significantly down. The steals were down about a half a steal a game, which is a lot. I mean, you just said that's a lot. But, I mean, the rebounds were relatively right in there where they've been for a while. The assists were up. I mean, they were the most he's ever had. The points were the most he's ever had. Now, the percentages stunk. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
but
his shooting got worse, and that was a bit disappointing. I think you're onto the key to Paul Millsap is that he is one of those players where everything has to go right. And there's a lot of those guys in fantasy basketball, especially like one of my favorite examples is Nick Batum. Everything's kind of got to go right for him to be a top player.
And let's say why that is. It's because these guys don't have any elite categories. There's no category that's separating them that's saying this guy's awesome in X.
They live on the margins. And that's fair because Millsap usually lives right above the margins and is good at a couple of the rare stats. And that's always propelled him into a top 20 spot. I'll just say I don't think he's going to be top 20 this year, but I definitely think he's going to be I'd say better, maybe not significantly better, but better than he was last year.
Okay. So I don't care. 10, 12 team league doesn't really matter. What round do you have him in?
Ooh, that's an excellent question. Paul Millsap. How much do I like you?
I got him in my third, which is the first time I can say that in a while. And I think he might even go in a fourth. Like, I think I might own Paul Millsap a decent bit. I think people keep saying about this down year. Like, I don't really see that it was that down. And I think with playing with Jokic and some of these guys on Denver and this kind of exciting young team, I think Millsap could kind of take a big leap up back to kind of where he was in that.
I think playing on this team helps him because that's where he has definitely had his most success was those Al Horford years, where he was not the primary ball handler, or the primary big. Sorry, not the primary ball handler.
I got him in my mid-30s, though. I mean, like, I'm fine with him in the mid-third round.
Yeah, I guess I'm not gonna reach into the second round for him. I don't know why you would. There's too many good players to reach into the second round for someone like Paul Millsap. Too many guys with upside. I would probably put him very solidly in the middle of my third round.
That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I think we're looking at this pretty much the same. I think the points go down a little bit, probably closer to 17 again. But I think he kind of has a bounce back year everywhere else. I think the percentages are better, and he's just the same old Paul Millsap.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help to play on a team where you give a crap, and the team is looking good. That Atlanta team really crapped the bed last year, and I can understand why someone like Paul Millsap would not want to down the stretch really give it his all, and that's fine. People have the right to do that. On this team is a completely different story. So who else on this team? Let's talk about the guy you mentioned, Jamal Murray. Why do you like Jamal Murray so much?
I just think that they're gonna make him. They're gonna at least try to make him the lead ball handler. And
Are you trying to say the Emmanuel Mudiay era is over?
I mean, I think they pretty much signaled that at the end of last year when Mudiay was not really playing a whole ton. And I mean, the starting point guard on any team is going to be fantasy relevant. I don't know that he's actually a point guard in the sense that I think he's more of a. But they have so many other ball handlers. Like Millsap can handle the ball. Jokic can handle the ball. I mean, they got other guys that are going to handle the ball.
And I think that's why this works, right? And I think that's why Jamal Murray will play close to starters minutes, if not starters minutes, simply because even if he's not a point guard, they are on a team with a lot of guys who can facilitate the offense. Jokic being one of them, which helps Jokic, in fact, become the ball facilitator, increasing his assists. Paul Millsap, like you said, can throw assists around as well. But is there anything Jamal Murray really does fantasy-wise that gets you excited, though? I understand that he's going if he's going to be a starting point guard, he is interesting, right, to a certain extent. But I'm not really seeing anything in his game that makes me think he could be a breakout type player.
I'm with you in that sense, and if he's going high, I'm not super on board. If you look at Mark's rankings, though, and I mean, I can read you the stats if you want. He's ranked 91st, and none of the stats really jump off the page at you.
Yeah, like I kind of like in the back of my mind, I'm like thinking Jamal Murray. Okay, what did I think he did fairly well last year? And I was like, well, I think he was probably pretty good at steals, right? And now I go look out here, and he's like, when he was averaging more minutes a game, he was breaking one steal, just barely.
That's it. He's points and threes and a steal. And
not terribly great. He's not a great shooter. He's at least hitting threes, even though he's not a great percentage wise. But yeah, like if he doesn't start to cultivate point guard like tendencies when it comes to assists, then I don't know how much he's going to be worth fantasy wise.
So where do you want him? It's a Mike only draft. Where's Mike taking?
Man, those are my favorite drafts. I usually do really well in the Mike only leagues. Jamal Murray. You know what? I guess I'm a little higher on Jamal Murray than I thought I was. Maybe I'd probably take him in the eighth round at the highest if I was feeling good. But that's most likely the ninth round.
And that's it. In the shallower league, I'm probably more willing to jump on him in the eighth round in the sense that I think he's one of those guys who could take a leap forward.
And I would actually say here's why, because there are some guys we've talked about who are young and are going to get a chance this year, but they really haven't shown anything. But when you go back and start looking at the game logs from Jamal Murray, here's why you should get excited. There was a night that in less than 30 minutes, barely less than 30 minutes, 22 points, 5 3-pointers, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block.
Oh, this dude can ball, man. This dude can shoot. Yeah. He's a baller.
And so that breakout potential is there. He's only 20 years old. He has had a 10 assist game.
I think he's a top 100 player.
He does rebound. Yeah, I think he's a top 100 player too. And I like his opportunity and upside enough to reach for him up in that 8th round.
I don't, and I'm going to caution people on this. I think some people are reaching for him like at 70, 75. Like I think that might be a.
And that might be what you have to do depending on where you're positioned in your draft. And if you believe in him that much, then I'm gonna actually go against my usual advice and say more power to you. But you're getting him at his probable ceiling, so that's usually not the best move.
And here's the kind of my caution. I think that's where he's going now. I think that this guy's going to be a hype train guy, and I could see him like going at like 50 by the end.
All it takes is one good preseason game, doesn't it?
Right, and then like at that point, like if you're picking him near the top 50, like I think his ceiling is about number 50. So I'm not on board at picking him at 50.
Yeah, I would not venture into taking him 50. I'd actually take another player on this team a little bit closer to 50. And that man is not named Will Barton, even though I love Will Barton, and I think he's a very good fantasy player. And I think
come on now. He's bad at basketball now. Come on, you know this.
Being bad at basketball?
You know this story.
He is a toaster-esque hot streak shooter that can come off the bench on any team in this league. But I'm not here to defend.
We got to get Mark
Will
on.
Barton.
He'll defend me on this one.
I know you two really hate Will Barton, even though for a brief period of time, Will Barton was the superior player. We are talking actually instead about Mr. Gary Harris. How excited are you about Gary Harris this year?
I'm always been a big Gary Harris fan. And that was even in Gary Harris's rookie year when he was 20 years old. I was championing for him over Will Barton.
Even though Will Barton was just lighting it up, just couldn't miss.
Well, Will Barton had a crazy hot streak there for a hot minute. I mean, I'll give you credit for that. Yeah, I like Gary Harris. I like Gary Harris as a top 75 player this year. I think he does a little bit of everything. The blocks, I wish he'd block a shot. That's the only thing I can complain about. Other than that, I kind of like. I mean, he shot 50% last year. You know that? 50% from the field. Can you believe that?
That's pretty crazy. I don't know, honestly.
I don't think
didn't
that's
watch a lot of
sustainable.
Denver, so I don't know how that happened. But I think the guy's figuring it out. He's also incredibly young. He's 23 years old. He's similar to Jamal Murray in the fact that he doesn't do anything elite in the sense that he doesn't get like elite assists or elite threes or elite steals. But with the percentages there, the fact that he's definitely getting the opportunity, and the fact that he's consistently improved every single year in the league, there is a reason to take him closer to in that 60-70 range, or even closer to 50, and definitely over Jamal Murray.
Yeah, and if you're just looking at the rankings on hashtag basketball, I think I'd take him over Pau Gasol. I'd take him over Malcolm Brogdon. Those are a couple guys ranked just like right ahead of him there. That I think I'd rather have Gary Harris than.
Definitely. And if you're in a 9-cat league, if you're in a roto league, the guy doesn't turn the ball over. It's incredible. He helps you. You bump him up a round at least because of that turnover rate.
So yeah, I'm a big Gary Harris fan. I will have Gary Harris on a number of my teams this year, I would guess.
I think so too. When you look at ESPN and Yahoo, they have him ranked. Actually, I don't know about ESPN, but I know in Yahoo, I think they have him and Jamal Murray ranked absurdly low. And
they're Denver haters, man.
Yeah, I don't know why, because a lot of the mock drafts I've been doing over at Yahoo, I've seemed to always get Gary Harris and then Jamal Murray incredibly late. And like we've said in the past, those mock drafts are usually filled with auto drafters or people who aren't really maybe taking the mock drafts incredibly seriously. So do be sure to take that. No, in your real draft, all it takes is one guy to like Gary Harris in the 6th round, and he's not dropping to you in the 9th.
No doubt about that.
Is there anyone else on this team that you enjoy, that you think is a kind of a fantasy stud, or anyone maybe for bigger leagues or dynasty leagues?
I'm gonna do my deep league special on Wilson Chandler.
Oh, I don't know if you have to go that deep to make Wilson Chandler that interesting.
I always think Wilson Chandler is underrated, and in a 10-team league, I would say I like to stream him. In a 12-team league, I actually think he's worth being owned a lot of times. I love picking him in a 14 or 16-team league because I always think people sleep on him. He's always good for like 13 points, maybe even a little bit more, which doesn't sound phenomenal. But when you're talking a bigger league where those guys own to score like 7 points a game, like PJ Tucker or Danny Green, 13 points is a lot of points. He's going to give you some rebounds. He's going to give you some threes. The percentages aren't horrendous. I'm always kind of a fan of Wilson Chandler. He's a deep league special for me where I own him in a lot of my 14, 16 team leagues.
Yeah, he's not a sexy name, and he's had like a little bit of an injury history that I don't think is going to crop up or anything like that. He doesn't do anything flashy. He doesn't, he doesn't put down stat lines that will blow your mind. But even in like you're saying, in standard leagues, he's into the bench streamable value. His upside isn't there. That is his upside, is into the bench streamable value. But I think a lot of people, like you're saying, overlook the boring names at the end of a draft and shoot big for the John Collinses of the world on who could break out, right? But maybe that guy only plays 15 minutes a game the whole season.
Well, and two guys I've been seeing are Jared Allen and the guy for your Bulls, Lauri Markkanen. It's like, are either one of those two? I mean, they're both a little undersized still. I'm just not seeing a huge breakout, especially early on in the season. Like, I'm going to get 2 good months of Wilson Chandler where he's actually helping my team. Whereas I think those two guys are going to be actively hurting your team for those first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, like Lauri Markkanen. Am I interested in a Ryan Anderson-esque type player? Yeah, of course I am. Except for Lauri Markkanen is a rookie whose ceiling is probably Ryan Anderson, and he's going to play like 22 minutes a game. So Wilson Chandler, 30 minutes a game, and also probably a little bit more open and a little bit better now that they have Paul Millsap and they figure their rotation out and they're not looking at Emmanuel Mudiay at all. Man, that's really sad. I don't know if it's sad about Emmanuel Mudiay because he looked like trash, but I mean, do you even think he's going to average more than 15 minutes a game next year?
No.
Oof, that's brutal. We did talk a little bit about Mason Plumlee, but that's probably for your deep leagues.
Yeah, and I don't think he gets traded now. I mean, I think I could see Jokic being like 30 and him being 18. And it's hard to own someone who's playing 18 minutes a game.
I completely agree. Let's move on to a team that we did mention with the dirtiest player in the league on their team. That is the Houston Rockets. They picked up, obviously,
Yao Ming? Oh, wait.
If you were alive, yeah. I think they have this year Tracy McGrady, Yao Ming. They're coming back on a reunion tour. But if you were alive this summer and you were barely on Twitter or even just around people on Twitter, you probably heard that Chris Paul from the Clippers is going to be the starting point guard on this team. They did lose in that trade Patrick Beverley, Sam Decker, Montrezl Harrell, and a Lou Williams, and a hodgepodge of people I will never talk about. What is the most interesting thing on this team? I think I know what it is, but tell me, what is the most interesting thing on the Houston Rockets?
What is the most interesting thing on the Houston Rockets? Well, I mean, for fantasy for fantasy.
I mean, yes, for fantasy, because I think I know what it is.
Well, I mean, I think we had this discussion when the trade happened, right?
It's PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker is the most interesting thing.
PJ Tucker is 7 points a game. I love PJ Tucker.
God.
I think we talked about the most interesting thing when the trade went down is just how does the dynamic change for Harden in the sense that he's going to have the ball in his hands a little bit less, and could they be the first team ever with 2 guys averaging 10 assists? That's really the question.
Yeah, and if you want to do the over-under there, I'm going to take the under. I think that's incredibly hard to do, but if there's a team that can do it, it's them. I look at the ridiculous stuff that James Harden did last year, and I think a lot of people are going to be off of James Harden. They're going to look, Chris Paul is going to carry the ball too much, so James Harden's not going to be that good this year. And people are going to say the same thing for Chris Paul, and I think both of those opinions are incorrect. I think there's no reason, especially in a head-to-head league, I'm not really sure there's a reason to take James Harden outside of the top 5 or 6. I mean, you could probably make an argument, and I think also Chris Paul, you could make an argument for him in the same place you could take Jokic or LeBron James even. You could take him at 9. You could take him at 11. You could take him at 12. He's going to continue to bring the value that he did with the Clippers. And the number one reason for all that, even though he's going to be sharing the ball with James Harden, is Mr. D'Antoni.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're going to run that crazy run and shoot, whatever you want to call that offense. Lots of threes, lots of fast pace, lots of go. I mean, like you said, it's impossible not to love these two guys. I mean, if Chris Paul slips out of the top 15 in your draft, you're doing it wrong. And if James Harden's not a top 5 pick, I think you're doing it wrong. So, I mean, they're obviously just studs. I mean, I don't know what else there's to say, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to belabor the point, but I think a lot of people are off on negating these two players. I think Chris Paul dropped actually fairly far in some mock drafts, and don't let him.
8 category league. James Harden, number 1 pick.
Man, that's a good it's a good question. I'm gonna go no.
Who you going for? Who you got? Who's your man?
Oh man, I'm going with KD as the number 1 pick in any league.
Ooh, I like that. That's interesting. Interesting.
I think KD is your number 1 pick in any league. You can build anything around him. If you take James Harden number 1, that's great. Do it. I can see an argument for it, right? I can also see an argument for Russ or even Steph Curry.
That's honestly who I think I might take in an 8 category league is Steph Curry.
Oh, I love Steph Curry. So I think people are going to be sleeping on Steph Curry. Steph Curry is slipping down in drafts because they're just sexier names like Giannis and Karl-Anthony Towns. And man, Steph Curry could easily finish over both of those guys.
Well, and I mean, I just feel like that top 8 though is just like so fungible this year. Just so, I mean, like if I took any one of those guys at 1 or 8, I really wouldn't say like, oh, that's a mistake. I mean, like all 8: Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Giannis, Karl-Anthony Towns, Russell Westbrook, Curry, Harden, like all those guys. I mean, wouldn't you feel great about having any one of those guys to start your team?
100%. And that's why we are kind of encouraging people to, if you do get to pick where you draft, picking in that 7 or 8 spot, just take whatever you get. Who cares?
Yeah, and you get a better second round pick.
Yeah, kind of a significantly better second round pick. You could end up with someone like John Wall instead of Mike Conley.
Yeah, or I mean, even Hassan Whiteside or Kemba Walker, someone like that, Kyle Lowry. I mean, I'd much rather have John Wall than Kemba Walker or Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting year, and my only argument would be that if you really want to rank the top 8, which we will be doing in a future episode when we go through some of the players in the first round and how to build teams around these guys, I think we're going to have to go ahead and give a definitive top 8. But if you can fall back on anything, is that James Harden has done it before. His ceiling is all the way up there, while guys like Giannis and Karl-Anthony Towns, they could do it, right?
And
but James Harden's done it.
You bring up my point. My top 4 are probably Harden, Curry, Westbrook, and Durant. The 4 guys who have been the number 1 guy, have been the dog.
A great way of looking at it. Like, could Steph Curry suddenly be Steph Curry of 2 years ago? The potential is actually there. I don't know. The percentage of the chance of it happening, I think, is not terribly great, but it could happen.
And I think there's just a lot of safety in Curry in the sense that you're going to get awesome points. You're going to get awesome 3-pointers. You're going to get awesome steals. You're going to get some pretty decent assists.
Yeah.
You're going to get some rebounds, and you're going to get great percentages. Like,
if you take Steph Curry over number 1 overall, great. Good on you. Probably a smart move. And
so that's where I'm at, though. I want that safety in that top 4 or 5 over. I mean, like, yeah, okay, Giannis could be it. And Giannis is never going to be that. I mean, like, barring a catastrophic injury, he's going to be a top 10 player, I think. But, yeah. I mean, Middleton's back this year, which could take away some of his scoring a little bit. I mean, I think Middleton's a great player. I think Middleton's a really underrated player. And Giannis doesn't really give you any threes, which in a league with a ton of threes is okay, but I mean, because you can make it up, but it also hurts his value even more that like half a 3 a game he's going to get you. And I mean, I want someone who's done it over someone who hasn't.
Yeah, that actually could be a significantly big deal when it comes to overall 9-cat or even 8-cat rankings when it comes to Giannis that people might be overlooking. But with James Harden going in the first round, Chris Paul probably going at the beginning of your second round, if not late in the first round.
The
If you're
12-team league,
if
I'd have him in the first round.
I would too, 100%. If you can get Chris Paul back to back with your picks and it coming out of that second round, I mean, I think you're set. Let's look at the rest of this team, though. With those two guys being far and above the best fantasy players on this team, I think there's still a few more fantasy players on this team. And one of the players I think we both like and think he's a little underrated is Clint Capella.
Oh, the Clint. I mean, I'm a big fan. This is the Mark Roberts special. Mark Roberts has been touting this guy since he came out of the womb, I think.
And Mark knows his young talent. I've always seemed to agree with him on a young prospect, other than his opinion on Will Barton. But Clint Capella is kind of primed to have a nice little year here.
The injuries are maybe a little bit of a worry here.
Definitely.
In the sense that he played 77 2 years ago, only 65 last year. He only played 12 as a rookie, but I don't know that was injuries. That was a little bit more towards, I don't think he was a big part of the rotation, and he was only 20 years old. He had a nice little breakout year last year, though. 8 rebounds, 12.5 points, 1.2 blocks, which is sexy. In only 24 minutes. You got to think he gets a little bit more than that this year, and that could look like a real sexy stat line with some real big rebounds.
Yeah, not only that, he's not going to be running the pick and roll with James Harden. He's going to be running the pick and roll with James Harden and Chris Paul. And Chris Paul, if anything, knows how to find someone on a pick and roll. That's legitimately why he is going to be a Hall of Famer. And Clint Capella is going to be the beneficiary of how good Chris Paul is. So you can see those points kind of move up a little bit. A few more minutes might be in a little bit more rebounds. There's not a ton of...
He could be in the running for best field goal percentage too this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He easily could.
Because I think Chris Paul only bumps your field goal percentage for the most part. And
I think that's statistically been proven.
So
the thing I'm going to mention though here is that he's only getting a half a steal a game, an assist. His blocks aren't like world beater numbers. And he's definitely not going to get you any threes. And so he's not someone we're saying go out and reach for him in the third round or even the fourth round. Though maybe you can be talked into that. But this is a guy who's being overlooked, who you could probably get in one of the in the later half of your draft.
What are his ADPs?
He's going to give you much better.
Do you know offhand? Because we discussed this when Mark was on, that he was kind of one of the guys Mark had, I think, rated a lot better than where he was going. And Mark kind of talked us down off that and said he was going a little higher than we thought. And I don't think he is. In the mocks I've done, he's going, I'm picking him a lot of times in like the 70s or 80s.
Yeah, I'm 100% getting him in my mock drafts. Incredibly late. Let me go out to Yahoo and do a little recon.
So as you do that, I will say that Mark has him 59th in his rankings in only 26 minutes a game. I think that's a pretty safe bet that he gets 26 minutes. Maybe he doesn't get a ton more than that, but 26 minutes is not a ton of minutes. He got 24 last year. The fouls are an issue. This is another guy who never met a foul that he didn't like. But big rebounds, some decent points, a great field goal percentage to boost you up. I could see him being a top 60 player easily.
He is being picked at the 71st pick, which would be in a 10-team and in the 8th round, so near the end of the mid-late 7th round. Some of the names you are seeing there is actually one of his teammates, Trevor Ariza, which is a little surprising, I think. Other names you're seeing there for God knows what reason is Jay Crowder, Jabari Parker, Julius Randle, Jonas Valanciunas.
The injured Jabari Parker?
The injured Jabari Parker. Kind of proving that these Yahoo rankings are incredibly skewed. Most of the mock drafts I play by pick 70, most people have pieced out. I don't understand why people are doing that, but nevertheless, that is what's going on. But I think you're kind of getting the picture is that Yahoo has him ranked lower, and getting him in the 6th round or even the 7th round would be a great pickup. I believe, especially if you didn't get any of those monster centers, or as just your secondary center,
and
coming down the second half of the draft.
The one caution in Roto would be, as you said, the no threes and the very bad free throw percentage. I mean, he's probably going to shoot less than 50% from the free throw line.
Oh, definitely. And I don't think the volume's going to destroy your team, but that is something to be aware of. Let's go into the other guy I think is fantasy relevant, Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza had a very good year, but this is a different team going into this year.
Always underrated, though, and never going to have a high usage rate. So what? I mean, I think Trevor Ariza could do Trevor Ariza things because Trevor Ariza doesn't use the ball a ton.
Yeah, I'm surprised. For some of the places I've been looking at, kind of are down on Trevor Ariza this year, and I don't know how Trevor Ariza isn't just like you said, Trevor Ariza. He is an elite steals guy. He hits threes at a fairly good clip. He does not take a lot of shots, even though he shoots pretty poorly. He does not get to the free throw line, even though he shoots kind of poorly. He never turns the damn ball over.
Here's where I keep hearing the people that are down on too is like, oh, he's not going to get as many touches with Harden and Paul and the team. And
what are those two? What do those two guys like to do?
Dude, he stands in the corner and spots up. Usage percentage last season per Basketball Reference. And you want to guess what it was?
I would guess definitely over 70%. I don't know. That might be aggressive. Maybe definitely over 50%.
What? He was 14%.
Oh, I thought you meant how many of his possessions were catch and shoot in the corner or catch and shoot for three.
How many usage so his usage rate basically?
Oh, 14%. That's a different question.
Of the percent of the ones he was on the court.
I don't know. What was it?
14%. You can't tell me this guy's not going to get 14% of the offense when he's on the court.
I'm going to go out there and say it's he's going to get more than that. Like we were just saying, could this be the first time two people on the same team average 10 assists a game? You know how that's going to happen? Trevor Ariza hitting shots.
Yeah, so a sexy 2.5 3-pointers, I could easily see that. 12 points, two steals a game, pretty close. I mean, yeah, I'm going to be on some Trevor Ariza this year.
I think people are out on Trevor Ariza. I think he is what he is. At worst, he is what he was last year. Kind of bad percentages, but a guy who, a guy who's getting around 2 steals a game should go in the first 8 rounds.
Well, and this is the Ricky Rubio thing we talk about. I mean, anytime a guy with 2 steals a game goes after pick 50,
screw it. First 6 rounds, yeah. I'm moving him up. I'm moving Trevor Ariza up.
Yeah, no. I love Trevor Ariza. I'm going to be on him definitely. Both show.
This is the Trevor Ariza podcast from here on out. The rest of this team, they did lose some minutes that need to be distributed. You have guys like Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker.
Eric Gordon points and threes only, basically. A little bit of assists.
Yeah, Ryan Anderson. Are any of these guys standard league relevant?
I mean, Eric Gordon's probably pretty close to being owned in a standard league, I would think.
He hits threes at a great clip, and I think we just got done stroking off Trevor Ariza. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have to say the same things for Eric Gordon. Not in the sense that he gets elite steals, but in the sense that he is going to be more open. He's going to hit more threes. And if that's the case, Eric Gordon should be, just as good as last year.
All right. So, I mean, I think he's back-end relevant there. PJ Tucker, probably the same thing. And PJ Tucker might even be a little bit more in the streaming sense. Good steals for someone you're going to get that late. Good rebounds. Not a lot else.
Yeah, PJ Tucker's not a sexy name, but he does he puts in the work where it matters. A handful of rebounds here, a handful of steals there. I'm not super excited about him in a standard league. I'd much rather have someone, especially in head-to-head, like Eric Gordon.
He's a stream guy for me in a head-to-head.
I got him in my bench. I got him on my bench 100%. He's not on a waiver, even in a 10-team league, because those 3 threes a game really do pay.
That's not Eric Gordon. I'm talking PJ Tucker.
Oh, PJ Tucker, yeah.
Eric Gordon is probably a bench guy in a head-to-head league, maybe your 10th starter.
What about Ryan Anderson?
He's probably a stream guy in a 10 for me.
And another one of those guys who's kind of a one-trick pony, but that's this entire, most of this entire team has
and the thing that I don't want to own Ryan Anderson for is he's got 3 pretty heavy negative categories in the sense he's going to get you no steals, no blocks, and not really many assists. Plus, he's got a bad field goal percentage. It's just like,
that kills you head-to-head and roto, just not getting anything from those categories.
Yeah, so he's more of a stream guy for me in the sense that, like, if I need a 3 boost and a little bit of points, I'll probably pick him up. But if I don't, I won't.
Yeah, if you're in a 12-team league, I can see someone keeping him on their bench depending on their build. If
fair play to them, they can have him.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then good for them. Any young guys or anyone else on this team worth talking about?
No.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and do one more. Let's throw. Are you feeling frisky, or should we save the rest for next time?
We can do one more. That's fine.
All right, let's do it. Let's go crazy for the third team. Your Minnesota Timberwolves,
Chicago Bulls West, man.
The Chicago Bulls, the team that I wish existed in Chicago, the team that theoretically could have existed in Chicago. I can't wait to watch far too many T-Wolves games and go see them live at the United Center. Let's jump right into it. What is the most interesting thing on the Minnesota Timberwolves?
This is the easiest team in the league to figure out, if you ask me.
Wow, just throwing it out there. I'm not going to disagree. Go right ahead.
They got 6 guys that they're gonna play that are gonna be standardly relevant, and 1 maybe guy on the fringe, and that's it. That's all they're gonna do. It's Tom Thibodeau. He's gonna give everybody 1,000 minutes, and they're gonna be super easy to figure out.
And that is why it is so satisfying as a fantasy player to see Tom Thibodeau as a coach instead of someone like Scott Skiles, because you know what the rotation is going to be. You're going to get heavy minutes from your starters, and you're going to get borderline embarrassing minutes for your bench players, and they're never going to pan out. So it's frustrating if you have someone on the bench who you wish saw more minutes, but you don't have to wait for a preseason to know the rotation here. Karl-Anthony Towns is going to be probably a top 5 player. Jimmy Butler is personally, I think he's going to be better than he was last year, simply because there is more talent around him. And even though the shooting isn't lights out around him, try to tell me that Jeff Teague isn't a better shooter than every single guard on the Chicago Bulls last year.
I got him 13th in ACAT. That's where I want him. 13th.
Yeah. Wait, Jeff Teague?
No, Jimmy Butler.
I was gonna say, what are you talking about? Yeah, Jimmy Butler at 13th. I could 100%. I'd take him at 13. I think once you start talking about Chris Paul, I mean there are a ton of really good guys. So saying 13 isn't an insult. That means he is the number 1 out of the third tier or the very last second tier player. Which
no, and I was telling this to someone. I did a mock draft, and this was when everyone was still around. He fell to me at pick 20. I was shocked.
That's drunken nonsense. Go out and you look at Jimmy Butler's usage rate. Everyone thinks he's not going to get as much play here. I completely disagree. I think he's kind of going to run the team. He's Jimmy Butler. Maybe he sees a few less possessions, but why would you want to give a few less possessions to Jimmy Butler? And then go look at what he did against defenses that were primed to collapse on him. Like some of these defenses weren't even like 5-6 feet within the player who's on the perimeter because that guy couldn't shoot. You know who could shoot on this team? Jeff Teague. Karl-Anthony Towns as a center. Imagine that pick and roll. Jimmy Butler, Karl-Anthony Towns. I just think Jimmy Butler makes this team so much better, and that at the very worst, Jimmy Butler will be as good as he was last year.
I'm with you, and if anything, I think the guy who takes the hit to Wiggins. It's not Butler.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't want Butler running the team. Jeff Teague, who I think we both agree will take a little bit of a hit here, but I don't know if people are too out on Jeff Teague. Is that possible?
Oh, they're 2 out on Jeff Teague.
Because
Definitely.
I think I'm starting to see some value here. I think the consensus around the fantasy basketball analysis community, which is a bunch of guys who cannot play basketball, that Jeff Teague is going to completely drop off going to Minnesota with all those different guys who are going to need the ball in their hands, and his assists are going to fall off, and he's just not going to be as good. And you're starting to see people drop him out of the top 50, the top 60.
Oh, that's just crazy talk for me. That is just crazy talk.
I agree with the synopsis that, he's going to get a few less touches. He's probably going to get a few less assists. That's probably true. But he's still an incredibly good point guard who's going to play a lot of minutes in Minnesota.
He's closer to my top 30 than my top 50.
Oh, you are really in on Jeff Teague.
Well, okay, who would you rather have, Jrue Holiday or Jeff Teague?
I actually think that is probably where I'm looking at him, and in a pinch, probably Jeff Teague,
and that's where I'm at. And I think Jrue Holiday is probably pretty damn close to a top 40 player.
I mean, what's Jrue Holiday doing that Jeff Teague isn't doing?
Nothing, and Jeff Teague's probably doing most of it a little bit.
The steal, like a little extra steal.
Yeah, I mean, better percentages, I think, from Teague. They're pretty even in a lot of categories.
I think that was a very good dart to measure Jeff Teague is Jrue Holiday. Those are incredibly similar players, and you're hearing a lot of people on Jrue Holiday. And
yeah, it's like
Schroeder and all these
top
other
35, guys. Top 40 player, and it's like, well, yeah. How is Jeff Teague not right in there? Like if Jeff Teague is hanging around your draft after pick 50 and you don't take him, I think you've been drinking the Kool-Aid, my friends.
Let's do it. Who would you rather have, Dennis Schroeder or Jeff Teague?
I would personally probably rather have Jeff Teague. I could see the case for Schroeder if you think he's going to score the 20 points. But I'd probably rather have Jeff Teague. That might sound crazy. I got Rubio over both, which also may sound crazy, but I'm kind of high on Rubio this year.
I don't think that's that crazy. I think you might be overselling Rubio a little bit. But
I think Rubio can average.
Is Rubio being sold too high and Jeff Teague being sold too low?
If you're telling me I can have Jeff Teague at pick 50 or Rubio at pick 30, I'm taking Jeff Teague.
All right. What's if I told you get a choice between Ricky Rubio and Dennis? Well, not Dennis Schroeder. You just said you'd rather have Jeff Teague and Kemba Walker.
I'm taking Kemba.
I am too. I think we did this last time. Eric Bledsoe and Ricky Rubio.
I got Rubio.
I'm on Bledsoe. I'm not scared of his injury, and I think Bledsoe is an incredibly good point guard who gets blocks at a kind of half a block rate, which is pretty silly for a point guard.
And I said this in the Utah episode. I think that I see Rubio getting a little bit more scoring this year, and those steals are just so great, and the assists are. I mean, is he going to be? He's probably going to be third in the league in assists behind Wall. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's going to be the third in point guard for assists because only one of Houston's guys can be a point guard.
Yeah, you're right. And actually, if anything, now that we're mentioning other point guards and other teams, Jrue Holiday with Rajon Rondo. Ooh.
Yeah, gonna play the two.
Not scared of that?
I am. I mean, he's gonna play the two from everything I'm hearing. He's the two guard, and because Rondo's gonna have to have the ball in his hands. What else can Rondo do?
I saw what happened in Chicago with Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo was so inconsistent and took plays off and only played on national TV. And then he had 2 amazing games in the playoffs, and everybody forgave him for all that shit. But that's just Rajon Rondo. He's going to have the ball in his hands way too much. He's going to find open players, but that actually might work on a team like the Pelicans with 2 really giant big men who can hit mid-range jumpers and actually hit 3-pointers. So maybe Rondo will be kind of decent, but you know who it doesn't work for? Drew Holiday.
Well, and to say this about Drew Holiday, yeah, last season he was healthy. He missed some games because his wife had a brain tumor, which I mean, okay, I can understand that, and
Yeah,
that we
totally
can't knock him for that. But what did he miss games for the few years before that? Stress reactions in his legs.
Yeah, and that's been ongoing for sure.
So, I mean, is it crazy to see that pop up again? I don't think it is.
All right, one more Jeff Teague. Would you rather? Jeff Teague or Victor Oladipo?
That's a good one. And I guess it all depends on how you see Victor Oladipo this year. I'm a huge Victor Oladipo fan.
I'm on the Victor Oladipo bandwagon.
Wow, that's really close for me.
So I mean, you're talking about the fourth round here.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the fourth round.
And so I think a lot of people are seeing Jeff Teague slip, and Jeff Teague's probably a little bit underrated, especially in Tom Thibodeau's system where he's going to play heavy minutes.
And that's the point, right? There's not really that many drawbacks from Jeff Teague for me. He's going to play huge minutes. I think he's going to relatively be Jeff Teague. He's going to get the ball put in his hands. I mean, I don't see what everybody's hating on.
All right, let's knock out these last two guys. Since this is the most straightforward team, Andrew Wiggins, with the addition of Jimmy Butler, we do think he's going to take a little bit of a downswing.
I'm more at 20 points with a steal, 4 rebounds, like 2.5 assists, a 3-pointer, half a block.
That's it's not crazy. That's not crazy at all.
So what's that, like a top 60 player? Maybe top 50, barely, maybe.
I don't know. Is that top 50?
20 points a game is
I think he shoots a little less.
Pretty rare.
Yeah. But I think his percentage might go a little bit down because I think they're going to try to have him shoot more threes this year.
I could see that.
Because you have your ball handlers like Teague and Butler, but Wiggins really also needs the ball in his hands to kind of produce. That's what he's kind of almost like kind of like DeMar DeRozan in a way, where he's just like kind of a one-man scoring machine.
I mean, at pick 50, I don't know that I'm just like super
I see other guys sitting around that 50 spot that I'd rather have.
And that's kind of where I say 60, in the sense that like I'm probably more in on him at pick 60 than I am at 50.
I see a couple guys at 60 that I think I might rather have.
And here's the thing about Wiggins that I'll say: I don't know that I've ever owned Andrew Wiggins. Because
I know I have not.
He doesn't give me that statistical profile that I like, in the sense that it's 1 steal and half a block, which is okay, I guess, but it's not sexy. And other than points, he doesn't give me anything, and I always go for points early. So I've got a good points build, and I don't think I need Wiggins in the 50 range.
You got to give me 1 and 1, right? If you're not going to do anything else, you got to give me 1 steal, 1 block, and he's not doing that. And so I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where if you missed your points early, you took Jokic in the first round, then maybe Andrew Wiggins is someone you look at in that 5th, 6th round, simply because you're going to need the points and they're not going to be there.
Yeah, so for late points, if you're talking more than 20 a game, the guys you probably got are Wiggins, Devin Booker, DeMar DeRozan.
That's it.
Pretty much it. Maybe Carmelo, if he sticks around. People hating on him this year. He's always a scorer. That's about it. You got those 4. That's about it.
I think people are selling Melo a little short this year too. He's still Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, I think I'll have some Melo this year. That's for certain.
Yeah, I think he's going to go later than a lot of people think. So the final guy on this list, it's actually I'd rather talk about both of these guys.
This is the battle, right? This is the one battle.
This is the 1 minutes battle on the team. Gorgeous Dang, so I'd like to call him, and one of my favorite hardworking Chicago Bulls, Taj Gibson.
Okay, first question. What's the split?
This is where it gets tricky. I see it. Oh, Thibodeau. God, that guy. It's probably somewhere Dang 27. maybe Taj 23.
Now, see, Mark
Four,
went
maybe
the
a
other
little bit
way,
more
and
center.
that surprised me. Mark went Taj Gibson more minutes than Dang. I'm definitely on the flip of that.
Well, I mean, here that's the toss up, right? Who plays better with Karl Anthony Towns, Taj or Dang? Probably Dang.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that that's right. I don't know that that's what Tom Thibodeau thinks, which is really all that matters.
Who's the better defender, Gibson or Dang? Probably Taj Gibson.
I Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, Gorgie
Down
Dang
the,
is a pretty good defender.
he's a solid defender,
But
right?
Taj Gibson is a veteran
Good.
who's been good for a long time.
Yeah. So down the stretch, who does Tom Thibodeau go to? And I think this is where I think this is what Mark was getting at. Is that down the stretch, Tom Gibson might get those minutes, and then that would actually push him above Gorgie Dang. And here's my issue with Gorgie Dang. He needs to play 30-plus minutes to be a really good fantasy player.
Well, I would argue if they're going to relatively split the minutes, that both guys are back end of standard league values. I mean, like after pick 100, if they're going to split the minutes.
I think I would much rather have Dang, because I know he does. Basically, he gets that steal block consistently. He's a good rebounder. And you've seen him do it before, right? If he's going to play more minutes, right? He's going to give you a little bit more. He's going to get you pretty good percentages across the board. And he's kind of like I'm saying, he's kind of one of those guys where if his usage drops, his minutes drop, all of a sudden he's what he finished in 8-cat leagues last year, ended up finishing in the top 60. So. And probably bump him up if with that turnover rate, right? But if he starts playing less minutes, that
he's my overdraft
block and
special.
a half goes to a block.
He's my overdraft special for this year. I think he's going to get maybe one of the most overdrafted guys.
I think a lot of people are going to look at what he ranked last year or the year before, and what he's ranked on ESPN and Yahoo, who do a subpar job of vetting some of those rankings, and he's going to go way too high.
60, 70, and I'm looking at him like as my last guy in the 10-team league, like 120.
Out of my top 100.
I mean, like 120 I'm looking at, and now he goes like 60, 70.
Yeah, if you sit on the board near the end of the draft, cool. I'd rather have him over Taj. I don't know if Taj is going to be standard league, even with the minutes. I'm not sure Taj is going to be standard league.
But Taj is
a borderline guy.
For the last couple of years, he's been a stream guy for me, though. I mean, sure. Even in 10-team leagues, I'm streaming him.
26, 27 minutes over the last handful of years, really. He's a guy who's going to give you enough stats to put on a roster every once in a while, but I'm not drafting him.
So for my deep league special, this was tough for this team, but I'll give it to you. It's Jamal Crawford. He's the only other guy I see who might get enough minutes to be even worth anything in a deep league. I don't think it's going to be a ton. I think it's probably like somewhere from 20, 22, maybe 25 he can push up to. He's going to give you points and threes and not a lot else, but that's the only other guy, even in a deep league, I'm looking at from this club.
Yeah, I'm staying away from him, even maybe not in deep leagues, because you're right. Someone's going to have to play off this bench, but
it's Thibodeau. I'm scared. I'm scared to even.
Jamal's been rough for the last 3 years. He's usually the guy who never gets drafted in a lot of leagues, and then all of a sudden he's coming off the waiver wire. Jamal was like that for a couple of years there up until last year, actually last 2 years. Then Jason Terry, he was always the guy everybody overlooked back in the day.
I'm scared by him, though. I'll admit it. I'm scared.
Yeah,
I don't
people are overlooking Jamal Crawford for the right reasons now. I'm kind of staying away, but you're right about here's a guy who can get you points in a very deep draft. In a very deep league. I think that's all. Well, go ahead.
That was my point. Is that's the deep league special because I'm scared of everybody else.
Yep. And if you're looking for a point guard of the future, he's not on this team anymore. He's on the Chicago Bulls. So sorry, everybody. Go back a few episodes and listen to the Chicago Bulls breakdown if you want to hear about the point guard of the future that used to be on this team.
That's all I got for these guys. I don't want to say anything about anybody else.
I don't either. I don't want to wax on anymore about how great Tom Thibodeau is and Jimmy Butler. So let's wrap it up there. You have anything going on that you want to plug, or anything interesting you've seen lately?
No, you can find me on Twitter at Watsy4444. If I find it interesting, I can usually find something I wrote about it. Because I'm always writing something.
Cool. And you can find me at Watch the Boxes, all one word. And hit us up if you are interested in being in our listener league. We got a few people. It's filling up. So get.
Oh, dude, we got quite a few. So you better get your name out there quick if you want.
Yeah, it's filling up.
I will say this too. One last thing for me, I forgot.
Yeah, go.
If you want custom rankings, you can message me on Twitter, and I'll get them out to you. Any settings you want. You got crazy stats, double doubles, triple doubles, fouls. I don't know.
Stop putting those categories. Stop it.
Any crazy stats, I can give you the rankings. Just hit me up. They're Mark's rankings. Don't think they're my rankings. They're Mark's rankings, but I'll get them set up for you.
Tyler, I will say you are doing a commendable job in providing these custom rankings for our listeners, and you're going out of your way for it, and I respect that, because I would never do that to anyone who uses triple doubles in their league.
Oh man, you should see some of the categories Mark has set up for us. It's impressive.
I'd like compile a few ridiculous categories for me, and let me know next episode.
All right, I will do that.
Perfect. I think that's it for us. We're going to continue with our team previews. So join us next time. Thanks, everybody.